Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Hope your week started out well, albeit the snow in Chicago. I want to thank God for this opportunity given to me by Apostle Garner and Prophet Yolanda to speak on emotional intelligence. My name is Rosalind Thomas, and tonight we'll be continuing our series on emotional intelligence. As always, I do pray that something I share tonight will bless you, something I say will encourage you, and that you're able to take something and use it in your life. Last week, we began the series on emotional intelligence. And with that, we provided a definition and we kind of expounded upon that definition of emotional intelligence, breaking it down so that we're able to use it in our own personal lives and build greater intelligence for ourselves and for our relationships. So tonight, I want to recap and share again that definition that we had from last week. That definition states that I'll use my skill to perceive the intended meaning of a situation or something that someone says to me and use my emotions to positively affect the conversation. I'll use my emotions positively, reducing within my body rigidity, timidity, reducing within my body tightness. I'll speak compassionately, I apologize. Clearly, I'll speak concisely while discerning your emotions and is discerning the intended meaning you had for this conversation. The rest of the I apologize, forgive me. The rest of it, giving myself and you the opportunity to overcome challenges and diffuse any conflicts. I will use this to build greater relationships, to improve and succeed for personal goals as well as professional goals, achieving those career goals, using my emotional intelligence and turning it from intention into action. So that was our definition from last week and kind of expounding upon that to build a greater emotional intelligence within ourselves. And last week, I briefly spoke about attributes of emotional intelligence. One of the attributes I'll speak about tonight is self awareness. Self awareness is the ability to recognize your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and your behavior. You know your strengths, your weaknesses, while building self confidence. And so I want to go back to the first sentence in self awareness because this will be our focal point for the evening underneath emotional intelligence. And that is recognizing your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and behavior, primarily thoughts, our thinking life, how we think, okay? Understanding and appreciating that our thoughts and our emotions are directly connected, meaning how I think is how I feel will impact how I think. Okay, so our thought life, how we think about different things, it's also related to how we hear, how we hear the information that is coming in towards us, how we view the world around us. Our thought life, it also includes negative self talk. Are we talking to ourselves negatively? Is every thought that we have about ourselves, about the world around us, is it in a pessimistic point of view or is it positive? Are all the thoughts we have, are they kind to us? Are we kind to ourselves? Do we extend ourselves grace? Or if we make an error, I can't believe I did that. It's the end of the world. And then we start speaking to ourselves negatively. So, what are we thinking about? I know years ago I heard the phrase, it's important to think about what we're thinking about. And for tonight, really, really expounding upon that phrase, thinking about what we're thinking about, because it's important to our emotional intelligence. It's important to how we hear, it's important to how we perceive, it's important to our emotions. Because if my thought process is negative, and I think about myself negatively, then everything that I hear around me, my intake is coming through that same negative view. And so because it's coming through that same negative view, how I think about myself I cannot produce a positive emotion, because if I think I'm bad, then how do I act? I can't act good. And my thought life, my thought says everything is bad, right? So thinking about what we think about, are our thoughts positives? Are our thoughts kind? Are we thinking kind about ourselves? Are we gracious to ourselves? Are we extending ourselves the same grace that we would extend someone else? The thoughts that we're thinking about ourselves, would we use those same thoughts to encourage a loved one? Would we use those same thoughts to uplift anyone else, or are they just for us? So it's important. And I'm going to probably say this multiple times throughout tonight, the importance of thinking about what we think about, ensuring that our thoughts are positive, ensuring that how I'm thinking about myself is positive. Because if it's positive, then the world around me can be positive. If it's negative, then that's my intake. My intake is negativity, right? And so, one of the examples, I want to use an example when we're talking about how we're thinking about ourselves and me training my thought process to think negatively, or all of my thoughts about me are terrible or bad. I don't have a good thing to say about myself. In that event that I don't have a good thing to say about myself, well, what if someone approaches me and they have something kind to say about me? How can I receive the kindness of another when I think so poorly of myself? So now I'm in a situation where someone has been kind, and my thought process is, nope, you're lying. I'm not sure why you said that, but I know that's not the reality of it. And so now, this situation, I'm not exercising high emotional intelligence because already I've set the groundwork for I don't believe what you're saying. So, because I don't believe, I'm questioning what you're saying. And my emotions, my behavior, everything that is going on with me right now is saying, that's not true. Nope. It's not true at all. And so, because I don't have the ability to think kind about myself, then I surely can't think that someone else would come and say something kind to me. So, what I heard was complete negativity when they truly were being kind to me. So now the atmosphere is not a positive atmosphere. I can't build a relationship off of a negative atmosphere because I think you're not truthful with me. So I can't build that positive relationship there, right? And what if that person's goal for 2024 was to build relationships and they truly meant, wow, whatever the compliment was, whatever kind thing they said, they truly meant to compliment you, to build a relationship. But because my thoughts about myself are not pure, my thoughts about myself are not positive, then I can't hear what someone else is saying about me. So tonight I want to share a phrase. It's called stinking thinking. And this phrase we use a lot in the mental health field. And the it's defined in its name, right? Stinking thinking. But Cambridge Dictionary, it defines it as a bad way of thinking that makes you believe you will fail, that bad things will happen to you, or that you are not a very good person. An article in Psychology Today says stinking thinking usually starts with a trigger, often a criticism or a nasty remark, followed by an emotional response. I'll repeat that one. It starts with a trigger, often a criticism or a nasty remark, followed by a thinking error or unproductive thought, an unproductive thought followed by a negative emotional response. So I'm triggered. I'm thinking about something, and it takes me back to the moment when a situation may have first happened. And because I'm triggered in that moment, now I have a negative thought. And now that unproductive thought, I should say, leads to a negative emotional response. And because of that, now I'm in a place that I don't want to be. And I asked them the question, have you ever thought yourself into sadness? Have you ever thought yourself angry, defeated? Have you ever thought yourself depressed? I'm not feeling well. Any of those things can be triggered by criticism or remark, right? And now I'm triggered. Now I've got a negative thought. And now that negative thought comes a tsunami of thoughts. And that tsunami of thoughts leads to moments where now I feel depressed. Now I feel sad. Now I am in a defeated place. So, under the umbrella of stinking thinking, it's several thinking errors, as they call them, ways of thought, I would like to say, that we can think, the way we can think. First one, I'm going to share these thinking errors or ways of thought, and then I'm going to expound on a couple of them just so that we can understand it even the more as we continue to talk about emotional intelligence, as we continue to think about what we're thinking about. Okay, the first one, all or nothing thinking. That's usually an always or never type of statement, right? The next one, mind reading, assuming that you know what someone else is thinking, believing that you know what someone else is thinking. Do you jump to conclusions? This happened, so automatically that's the end result. This happened, so yeah, that's what's going to happen next. Unreasonable self-blame. If I had been there, if I had did this, if, right? The next one of my personal favorites, disqualifying the positive. Nothing positive can be said to us or about us. No, it just worked out that way. Nothing about me. It could have been anybody else in the world. I just disqualifying the positive. Next one, catastrophizing, where bad outcomes, no matter what. I'm looking for the worst possible outcome for this situation. I'm not thinking something positive. I'm not thinking that all things will work together for my good. I'm specifically looking for the worst possible situation. And what's going to happen? I'm going to find what I'm looking for because that's how I'm thinking. I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to go wrong. And so it has the potential to go wrong because that's what I think, that's what I believe, right? And so, expounding on a couple of those thought processes or wrong thinking, as they call them, I'd like to start with one I've already shared, disqualifying the positive. In that moment, someone sharing something kind with you, and you absolutely believe that they're not being kind to you, they're just saying something to say it. And as we continue, one of the things I'd like to share is when we're having these thoughts, I think it's important for us to confront these thoughts immediately, fact check these thoughts, right? If someone comes up to you and they say something kind to you, and you say, no, that's absolutely not right. That's just not true. Well, why did they come to you and say that? Why did they pick you to share that information with if it was inaccurate? And we do know people can just say stuff. I won't take that away. But for the purpose of this teaching, let's think about that, right? Confronting these irrational thoughts, confronting these negative thoughts that we might have if we hear something and or if we think something about ourselves. Disqualifying the positive. I know that I'm not attractive. I absolutely know that I'm not. Well, I'm beautifully, fearfully, and wonderfully made. So that in and of itself is the complete opposite of that thought. So now my thought is now being confronted with the scripture. That's not what God says about me. That's not how he thinks I am. That's not what he believes about me, right? So the next example that I'd like to use is our ability to know what someone else is thinking. Example, I know they hate me. I know they don't like me. I absolutely know it. They think this way about me. They think this way about me. Well, how do you know that? Did they specifically tell you that's how they thought about you? Again, we're confronting how we're thinking and what we're thinking because we can't read people's minds, right? I don't know what you're thinking unless you share with me what you're thinking. So that thought process that circles, I know they're thinking this. I know they hate me. I know they I know they don't like me. I know they don't want me within this friend group. And another example that I'd like to share is if you are within a friend group, right? And within that friend group, one person within the friend group you don't have a close relationship with. So you start thinking, yeah, he doesn't like me. She doesn't like me. I know it. And then you start looking around at everybody. Nobody likes you now. No matter if they invited you, no matter if they appear to be enjoying your company, they don't like me. Now I'm jumping to conclusions. They're just inviting me just because I know they're just doing this as a favor. Now I'm starting to feel sad about myself. And the one thing that I'd like to share about the negative thought process we have about ourselves is when we have that negative thought process about ourselves, then we start looking for evidence to support that thought. So now I'm looking for evidence to support why I'm thinking this thought. They're just inviting me because. I mean, I wouldn't invite me either. Now I'm thinking about all of these things that could be the reason why they're inviting me, but none of it is positive. And so now that I've got my evidence to support my unproductive thought, now I'm starting to feel sad because I've supported this thought process. So now I'm sad. Now, my sadness, my emotions, they're telling me, well, just isolate, just stay at home because nobody's going to miss you. They didn't really mean to invite you or want to. They were just being. You see how all of those thoughts, they all can roll together. The list of ways that we can possibly think, how it can all roll together to support one another, how then we start looking for evidence to support the unproductive thoughts that we're having. And as we're looking for that evidence to support the unproductive thoughts, now it's influencing my emotions. It's influencing how I'm feeling right now. Well, I'm sad, and I definitely don't feel like going right now because nobody's probably going to talk to me anyway. And where did that thought come from? Where's the origin of that thought? How can we confront that thought with the reality of it? How can we confront that thought with facts of why you are invited, with facts of what could potentially happen based off what happened in previous times? You actually had a nice time. People talk to you, right? So, a form of negative self talk can lay the groundwork for offense as well. So, offense in the sense that you see someone, you have your guard up and an attitude with that person. Why? Because you've had a conversation in your head and or an argument with this person in your head. And then when you see this person, they say hello and you grunt. All because I have negative self-talk about myself. Someone comes up, they say something, and I'm ready because I've already had this conversation. I know what this conversation looks like. They don't know what it looks like, but I know what it looks like. And so, because I know what it looks like, then I have to respond accordingly. Right. So, continuing on with our examples, another example, which I touched on a little bit already, and jumping to conclusions. An example, some will use Bob and Sally. Sally broke up with Bob. Bob says, I'll never find anyone else to love me again. How did we get there? How did we get from, and I know maybe in that moment you may feel pretty low, but to jump from I'm single now till nobody else will love me again, that's far reaching, right? So now that's my thought process. So I'm likely to experience a negative emotion, sadness. And that sadness is likely to be followed by a feeling, which is then followed by a behavior that says, well, stay in the bed. I mean, cry these tears out in the bed. Don't go anywhere. Don't do anything because you will never find anyone else to love you. You will never find another relationship. You're unattractive. Again, going back because now I'm looking for evidence to support I'm no longer in a relationship, so I'm unattractive. It's a wonder I found that person in the first place. Now I know I'll be single forever. Now I'm definitely sad because I'm dumping on myself. I'm just continuously dumping on myself. So, yes, I'm sad because I don't really want to hear that stuff. But why am I saying it to myself? Because I've learned to think negatively. I've learned to think along these processes. I've never taken the time to confront the negative thoughts that I have on a consistent basis. Um, I'll just get over it. But no, I think it's important that we confront those thoughts. I think it's important that we confront them with the word of God. I think it's important that we confront them with positivity. I think if it's important that we are kind to ourselves because we're kind to others. We want to encourage and uplift our family members. So why not do the same for ourselves? One of the things, it's a quote that I saw by Harrison Ford. No, I'm not going to say that quote. I'll come back to that. But going back to being kind to ourselves. And I want to recap and to share that the talking about ourselves and how we view ourselves, how we think about ourselves is so important because it shapes my worldview, right? It shapes how I'm seeing things. It shapes how I hear information. It shapes a lot that's going on around me. And that thought process then now I'm feeling a certain way. Emotions are coming out because I'm thinking this way. So my emotions line up with my thought process. My behavior lines up with my thought process. All of these things work together. So the importance of understanding that my thinking is important, how I think about myself, that I need to be kind to myself, that in the morning I wake up with affirmations. In the morning I wake up, this is the day that the Lord has made. This is going to be a great day. This is the best day that I've had yet, and it's only going to get greater. Waking up, I'm confident today. Today is a brand new day. I may have missed the mark yesterday, but today is a brand new day for me to start all over again. I'm going to conquer. I'm going to do what it is that I need to do to accomplish to get the results, as opposed to waking up with a self defeatist attitude and remaining in that place. Because even if you wake up with a self defeatist attitude, you definitely can change it to a more positive attitude, and that will affect your emotions. And then you're skipping through your office, maybe. Why are you so happy today? Oh, I'm just happy. It's a great day. Why? Because I said it's a great day, because it'll be a great day. So, thinking about what we're thinking about and confessing those thoughts, I think it will be beneficial to us and our emotional intelligence. It'll be beneficial in creating those desired relationships that we want. It'll be beneficial in creating those personal goals, those positive goals, lending my positivity, lending my positive emotions to every situation that I'm a part of, to environments. And it's only causing my emotional intelligence to increase day by day by day because I'm consciously attacking, I'm consciously saying the opposite of something that I may be thinking and or feeling, right? One of the things I like to share a lot when I'm speaking and or running groups is it's an exhausting exercise, but I do it a lot with teens, but it is for everyone. Every time there's a negative thought, replace it with a positive thought every single time. So if within the hour you've got 50 negative thoughts, I need 50 plus positive thoughts. And by the time they come back to see me, Miss Thomas, I couldn't do it all. I was tired. Well, what were you tired of? Well, first, I was tired of thinking about something positive and having to say the positive thing. So, what was it easier to do? Think negatively. So, then what did you do this week? I reverted back. Then the next week, Miss Thomas, I did better. And every week we're climbing to that where they're running in, excited to tell me, yeah, I definitely did better. I may have only had one negative thought, but it's work, it's practice to build our emotional intelligence. But I believe that we're all capable of building our emotional intelligence by using our thought process in a positive way to cause our emotions to be positive, to lend that positive emotion and thought to every situation and every place that we're in. I hope that something I said on tonight blessed you. I hope something I said was encouraging for you. And just as an exercise over the week, try it. If you do have a negative thought about yourself, if you have a negative thought about someone, replace it with a positive thought. See how exhausting it is and or how successful this week you were with that. Try thinking about the positivity, drawing positivity from the situation, believing that everything will work out for your good, believing that you are beautiful, believing that you were born for such a time as this, that you're here for these moments, that this is your season, this is your time. So try doing those exercises over the course of the week. I'm interested to see how you do. God bless you. Bishop will take up the offering.
Dr. Ross, we thank you so much for that insightful message. EQ, everybody. We got to have emotional intelligence. Listen, there are 5 ways to give, 5 ways to give. You can text to give. The number is appearing on the screen. You can also give via mail. You can mail your checks, money orders to P.O. Box 4315 Oak Park, Illinois 60304. You can Cash App, Zelle, or you can use the Rivers app. Listen, we're building the house of prayer. The house of prayer is an actual building. We already have procured our land and we want to start building, and we have expectation and goals to get that done even in this year, 2024. We'd like for you to partner with us. Would you consider praying and asking God to partner with us on a month-to-month basis, where you would give towards us building this hub that will house the people of God who will go forth locally and globally, praying fervently the things of God that we're being taught by our great leaders, Apostle Stephen Gardner and Prophetess Yolanda Gardner. We would love for you to partner with us and be a part of this endeavor. As you can see, we're a holistic church. We're teaching things that are spiritual as well as things that are good for our mental health. We want to thank you for being a part of what's going on here at Rivers Chicago. God bless you, and you all have a great evening, and we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. God bless.